Starfleet Underground. Every week, we'll take a look at the latest Star Trek news and then check out a current or classic episode of Star Trek. This week, it's official, our very first episode of Starfleet Underground. We talk about how Star Trek sneaks in ideas masquerading as science fiction, the brand new short trek Children of Mars, the anticipation for Star Trek Picard, and when Tribbles drink Romulan Ale.
Hello and welcome to Starfleet Underground. We're here today with Heather, Rocky, Fred, and myself, and there's rumors that our ambassador might teleport in later. This is our official first episode. All the others were spoilers. So if you were suitably spoiled, now you get the full meal.
We call it a soft launch, and now we're officially hard with this launch here.
There we go. No, that could go in so many different directions right there. That's
we definitely, we can say that with Picard.
I don't know what you're talking about. They call it a soft launch, and then you actually have the hard launch. I don't know what you're talking about.
And with Picard coming out, this is definitely hard. Launch for Picard.
Playing straight man to Heather over here.
So most awesome and amazing. My name is Nathan Adams. I'm here with Starfleet Underground. I've served in the Marines for about 7 or 8 years. Love sci-fi, and we're stuck way out here in the Delta Quadrant, trying to make it home. Section 31 is sponsoring us, so they come and go as they please, but they never take us with them.
Yeah, what is it about those guys? I mean, they sponsor us. We like the money. You know, it's okay to get the money, but they don't take us back to the Alpha Quadrant.
Ulterior motives.
They don't.
Yeah, they've got a thing. They got a plan. They just won't share it with us.
I think they just want to distract people with humor and comedy, so that way they're not paying attention to what's going on.
Very true. Now, new segue. Heather, introduce yourself.
Okay, so hi, hello, good to meet everyone. My name is Heather Ferris. Normally what I do when I'm not watching Star Trek is I have a business called Vegas Aces. I have a YouTube channel, a website, all of that fun stuff. And we teach people how to play and deal casino table games. And then our corporate activism is we help people get a job for free without having to pay to go to school. When we're not doing that, I run a marketing business where I am helping new table game inventors get their games into the casino. So we do websites, promo videos, we create their layouts, their rack cards, everything they need, and then we help get them into the casino. And I am also an adjunct professor at UNLV. I teach the fundamentals of table games over there, and I love it over there, just so freaking happy. One of the new things that's going on right now is, I'm really excited to announce this, one of our clients is Gameco, and Gameco has a really fun slot machine that's a Star Trek slot machine. And we just found out the other day that we were contracted to do the promotional video for that slot machine. So I really geeked out. I tried not to geek out, but it just didn't work. And I'm at my meeting with my clients, and I'm literally geeking out because I get to do this Star Trek slot machine promo video. And they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I love Star Trek.
That is way awesome.
Yes,
that is great.
So cool.
That is a super cool gig right there. That is, and I could find no one better to do that than
thank you.
Than you to build a Star Trek slot machine.
That is amazing.
If you can arrange it, it would be great to have that game available at the next convention. I think everyone would be. I think
they were, because the game was available at the last convention. Do you guys remember that in Cork's
I remember it there
Bar?
sitting in the corner. I didn't get a chance to play on it, though, but I know it was sitting over there in the corner. It looked pretty cool.
They were demoing it over there.
Okay.
Yeah, so yay. So that's me. Hello. Good to meet everyone.
All right, Fred, it's your turn. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Fred Beutler, and I've been a Star Trek and a sci-fi fan for many years. My first exposure to Star Trek, ironically enough, was the animated series. That's how I got interested in Star Trek. And when I'm not riding around on starships, I work as an electrical engineer at a power plant generating electricity. That keeps me, I guess you could say, electrified. Keeps me busy. So looking forward to see what Picard has in store for us.
Okay, and Rocky, introduce yourself.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Rocky Robinson, and I am a video engineer. I work with a community TV channel in Northern California near the San Francisco area. And when we're not running very interesting interviews with local nonprofits and politicians from time to time, we do other video work. So I do a lot of video production work, run video cameras, work audio boards, occasionally do some voiceovers, make studio lights turn on and off. Basically, I'm the engineer at a TV studio. So that's kind of my day job. But with Star Trek, it's been around since I've been alive. I just always remember something part of the television. Sometimes there was this show that came on, and it started with looking at all these bridge lights. It was very cool to look at. And then you start watching the show. And I remember being at the daycare center, and they'd want to turn on Sesame Street, which was cool. But after Sesame Street came on, wanted to flip over to Star Trek so I could watch Star Trek. And not necessarily everyone else wanted to watch, but I wanted to watch Star Trek. So I grew up watching the original series, and then through high school, and Next Generation was on, and Voyager through college. And DS9, of course, was in there. I actually was one of those that didn't watch DS9 initially as much, then came back and rewatched it after college. Of course, I watched Enterprise as well, watched all of them. Star Trek's always been around. So excited for Picard, because the last thing we know in the timeline was Picard. I mean, we had the side story with Enterprise, and Scott Bakula is wonderful, but it wasn't the modern day, what is going on with the story that we grew up with. So getting to see Star Trek Picard is continuing the story, continuing the voyage to Star Trek.
So how's everyone week been since we've last talked? I know the ship is quite big, so I don't run into you guys constantly in the hall. So Heather, what do you have on your plate? What's been going on?
Well, even though we haven't seen each other, if you are having a hard time finding your oatmeal, don't ask me. I don't know. I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah, Fred was supposed to take care of that. I make it perfect pot. I go around, do something, and it's gone. So we may have ghosts or something like that.
Just don't look in the closet.
There's a closet on deck 13 you do not want to open right now.
And there's one bathroom in the whole ship, and it's right in the middle of the ship.
Well, I think I know who our oatmeal culprit was. Did you notice these little tribbles over here in this other room?
That's the other closet on deck 13 you shouldn't open.
Don't open it! Yeah, don't open it!
I thought you had gotten rid of all of those.
It might be purring, but don't open it.
And how about you there, since we're talking about Tribbles? What's been going on?
Just getting excited for Picard coming soon. So just looking forward for an exciting series.
I agree. It's going to be way awesome. And how about you, Rocky?
Well, I've been nerding over Twitter lately, and I just want to share with you guys, Swear Trek at Twitter is just, they just put classic clips of, it doesn't even matter what the clip is. It's some clip from Star Trek, and they rewrite the captions to somebody swearing at somebody, and it can just be hilarious. Completely when you unexpect it. You're just scrolling through Twitter, and you see that and go, oh, what the is that? That's, it gets me every time.
I gotta check that out.
It's a good one.
Speaking of clips, there is a rather funny clip I saw last week. It's a Star Trek Star Wars mashup. Yeah, the Enterprise, Picard's Enterprise D encounters the Death Star. And Picard's crew is telling him, sir, we're caught in this tractor beam. And then Vader shows up on the view screen, and he goes, I'm sensing a presence I haven't had in a while. And then he goes, nerds. And Picard's like, oh, no, not you again. It's hilarious.
I think I've actually seen that one. It's animated, if I'm not mistaken.
It is. It is.
I have seen that one. It is definitely interesting. For those of you that haven't checked it out, if you want to chuckle, go ahead and see it. But you might not like it if you're a huge Star Wars fan. Just saying.
Baby Yoda do 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 do. Baby Yoda do do do. I swear, I have had that stuck in my head ever since that freaking day that I can't get it out of it. I just can't get it out of there.
The problem is you keep going throughout your entire week with no problem whatsoever. And then all of a sudden, for some random reason, you just go,
Baby Yoda do 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 do
See, it
do
happens.
baby
It just
Yoda do 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 do
goes
do,
right
do.
in your head, and then it's stuck there for like a half hour at least.
Oh.
Papa Luke do 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 Mama Leia do 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 Cousin Hans do 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 Puppy Chewie. This is how often it's stuck in my head.
She's written the entire song in her head.
Okay.
Next week, Heather will have the Star Trek version of it.
Oh my God, I need to.
You've just opened another can of beans. It was bad enough you got the Tribbles going. Now you're going to get this going with Heather. Thanks a lot, Fred.
Fred just fed the Tribbles.
Yes, don't feed the Tribbles.
AKA Heather, huh?
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yup.
Hey, here's an interesting trivia fact for the week, guys. Did you realize that Wil Wheaton, the guy that played Wesley Crusher, he's
Oh my God, you don't have to tell us who Wil Wheaton is. I love that guy. Sorry.
He's the exact age that Stewart was when he started playing Picard.
Oh wow.
Back in '87.
Oh,
No
dude, that means I'm
shit.
close to that age
Yes.
because I'm close to Wil Wheaton's age.
So how old was he when he started playing Picard?
47.
Wow.
Really? Wil Wheaton's almost 47?
Yeah.
Well, I'm almost 47. Yeah, that blows my mind because I've been sitting here rewatching the show and I'm thinking, well, how friggin' old was Stewart when he started this thing? I mean, if he's that old now and this old then, and he's got this much experience, a captain should have this kind of life experience to be a captain. And if I'm that age, guys, I could be a captain. No, I couldn't be a captain, but it blows the mind just a little bit.
Yeah, it does, because it all comes down to experience, and you only get a lot of experience through life and things that happen to you during it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Borgs.
True.
Yeah, very
True.
much so. Actually, bringing all that up is a really good segue for us to go into news that we've all heard here. Scuttlebutt. So, how about you, Heather? You've heard of anything exciting coming up, or?
Did you guys see that Variety magazine interview with Patrick Stewart? And I just have to say, I found this article, and then Rocky put it out on Twitter, and I'm like, no, that's my article. I found it first.
I got you. I went up to Heather.
You did.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart in red, all red. I'm totally, if I can find a suit that is all red, I would love to wear that at the next Vegas convention.
Oh, I saw that.
For as old as he is,
Oh,
he looks
boy.
damn good.
Yeah, the pictures they got, I'm like, where is that
Yes.
room with the big lights everywhere? I want to find out where that room is because it looks so cool.
I saw that. It really looked like it was
Yeah.
taken out of Space Odyssey 2001.
Yeah.
Or Chuck.
It's really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, or Chuck.
You guys remember Chuck?
Perfect.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
same room. It's the intersect.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I saw that picture too, and
And then
that
somebody
looked
did
really
a
amazing.
Photoshop of making it all green and put some shades on Picard, and it looked like he's in the Matrix.
Oh, that's so cool.
It was real cool.
Well, in the article, if you guys read the article, one of the things that they talked about was the dog. Picard really wanted to have a dog that was with him all of the time. And I hope that the dog is with him all the time, but I don't think he is. But anyway, did you guys know that that dog's name is De Niro? De Niro? So that's what the dog's name is. And then one other thing that they were talking about in the article, there are no Kardashians in Picard.
Kardashians or Kardashians?
Either. The one with the reptile skin or the one with the other big.
That's too bad. I like my fellow Kardashians. I'm not really a fellow Cardassian, but I like the way they think.
Well, they're the other Kardashians. They don't think.
Yeah, I'm not talking about those.
Yeah, but
No offense.
and then in the magazine, they also said that this will not be a next generation reboot. Stewart designed it to be totally different, and he, quote, this is a quote, he is uninterested in repeating himself. And apparently that got a lot of backlash on YouTube and social media because people are like, no, we want a next generation reboot.
No, if you want to get people really upset, one of the things that I read about it, that this is supposed to be taking place in the JJ verse from what I understand, or not exactly where Romulus has blown up.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Romulan refugees. So that's kind of like a minor spoiler.
Yeah, I read that somewhere too, and it clicked in my head. I said, wait a minute, didn't that blow up in the JJ universe? Because I don't think it happened in the regular one yet.
You know,
it's like, okay, if they're going to do that, that's going to flip some things.
And this
keep it
also
interesting.
is where Spock has disappeared, if they're going to go around that timeline, because right when Romulus blew up is right after that. I think Spock had disappeared, and we started the whole different timeline there. Yeah,
it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because the beginning of that movie, like you said, actually occurred in the Prime universe with the Leonard Nimoy Spock.
Yeah.
So yeah, we shall see.
And how about you there, Fred? Heard any great news or anything coming up?
I think we pretty much covered the same things that I was hearing. I saw some chatter on Facebook about the interview and the fact that this version of Picard isn't going to be per se a reunion or a reboot of the Next Generation. So there's definitely a lot of interest in it. A lot of strong opinions, too, I'll say.
There's always going to be real strong opinions these days. Everybody likes giving them out.
Yeah.
So how about you there, Rocky?
Well, yeah, the thing, of course, I caught out of the article was the influences that they're going to be from current events, from Brexit and from Trump. And that makes me worried a little bit, because if the Federation does something crazy and becomes more like the current things happening today, it's a little worrisome. But I'm pretty sure Picard will help everything get set up straight and things will be okay. But it's going to be an interesting universe to watch it in. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a fine line, because I know Star Trek historically likes to tell stories that kind of comment on current events, but they get too political, that could also turn off some fans.
I always found that interesting, because you grow up watching Star Trek, and as a commie liberal that I grew up myself, you look at it from one point of view, and then you realize that other people like Star Trek too, even though they don't agree with your political opinion. And that's kind of if you realize that and you go, oh, well, of course, that makes perfect sense. How did I not figure that out beforehand? It's perfectly natural for people who haven't grown up the way you grew up, or haven't come up with the way you think exactly, to completely like Star Trek. Because Star Trek is likable. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, as long as you can see it and have it reflect in your point of view the positive messages that come out of it. Right. So that's the beautiful thing about Star Trek. Everybody can like Star Trek. Everybody can love it. Fans love it. Although it's interesting when you sit in the crowd of the Vegas convention, and there are people that are completely opposite liberal. They're completely conservative viewpoints, and these actors are completely. Most of them are totally liberal, and you'll hear them say things, and then you hear a quiet little whoosh throughout the audience, because they're like, "Oh man, why'd they say that again?" Or if you'll be looking on Twitter, and somebody says something about something, and like, why do they got to make this political? And I'm like, they're just saying, your standard thing you agree with. And you realize that person's not liberal like you are. They've got other opinions. And oh, wow. Okay.
Well, unfortunately, people forget that Star Trek has always been political under the guise of science fiction.
Yeah.
And if they feel that that's not true, they just need to peruse the original series. They've had let this be your last battleground. Is when one guy was half black, half white, and the other one was half black, half white on the other side. It was a comment to the race stuff that was going on.
Well,
with
even
thing.
Even the first kiss between Uhura and Kirk, it's like, that was the first interracial kiss on TV, they did that.
I'm blown away to hear stories where they just completely did not air that episode in certain areas of America.
In the South, down south, they didn't.
Are you
serious?
That's how messed up the world is at that point in time, that they didn't even let people see that episode.
The whole episode, it's like not like they wanted to. The whole thing about the episode is they were sort of like forced into
and it's
it.
not
so
about
what part of that?
It's not necessarily about racism. It's about something completely different, but it corresponds congruently to or parallel to the whole issues.
People are messed up.
That I remember hearing that too, and I was really surprised at that.
But Star Trek is beautiful in that it can take the sci-fi stories and talk about things which you're not paying attention to, and then realize, oh, Wow, that's what we're talking about.
Well, sci-fi sort of gives it the cover that it needs. If there's a subject we can't talk about as a society, at least with sci-fi, you're on a different planet with different circumstances, and it opens up the conversation that we can't open up ourselves.
And that's exactly how they snuck a lot of that stuff in, because they framed it that way. I mean, they brought in the 60s with Herbert, you know, and now it's okay, boomer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of it that they did. So people who talking about they don't want to be politicized, this is a way that we can catch the younger generation. We're not looking for the core people that will not change their minds no matter what you say or do. They're looking for people who have an open mind. They can't be persuaded, who can look at things in a different way and go, huh.
Yeah,
that
Right.
makes sense. So hopefully Star Trek will do what it has done in the past, which is help shift the narrative.
Yeah, and there was another original series episode that was kind of an analogy for the Vietnam conflict. I don't remember the name of the episode offhand, but that was one where Kirk went back to a planet that he had surveyed as a young lieutenant. And, you know, he was telling Spock and McCoy that this was a kind of like a paradise. It was a primitive planet, but it was a paradise. But then they found that the Klingons were secretly providing rifles to one faction. Do you guys remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's when the woman was more ambitious, and she they had the one of the first of those monkey-looking creatures that attacked. I remember that.
Yeah.
The blue monkeys?
Well, I don't think it was blue.
No, it was a white monkey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I think he had like a horn on his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
He's
the one
made-
with the horn.
The classic
Yeah.
costumes.
The Uni-monkey
There you go.
instead of unicorn.
Monkey. Yes, that's hilarious.
Let's turn this dog into an alien. Throw a horn on it.
Yes. It was such a cute dog, too.
Now, as for news segments, I get a little bit of news myself. Don't ask me how I've managed to do it, but because we all know that our sponsor has gotten me into see the next Picard. So I'll be going to that. So for those of you that want minor spoilers, what the heck, maybe even big spoilers,
What?
make sure you come into the next podcast, because I'll be talking about the first 3 episodes of it, as well as who showed up on the red carpet. So we're going to have a lot of things to discuss next time.
Oh, wow.
Whoop, whoop. I am so looking forward to that.
Wow.
I can't even believe it. This is amazing.
There might
I'm
be even
excited.
pictures.
Yeah.
If you follow our
Pictures?
social media accounts, there might be even pictures.
Oh, wow.
So make sure you follow our social media account. The links are going to be contained in the podcast description. So please give us a follow, give us a like, give us a share. It's most important so we can get out there. So our assignment this time was to watch all the trailers as well as the new Star Trek short. This is a warning. If you have not watched Children of Mars, this is your time to hit pause, go watch it, and then restart the podcast.
It's not
Okay.
that long of an episode. You can watch it pretty quickly.
Easily within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And 2 of those minutes
Yeah.
is of you
That
finding
includes booting up your computer.
On CBS All Access.
on CBS All Access.
That's
Unless you're
correct.
in a different country outside the United States, it will probably be on Netflix or one of the other streaming platforms. So you have your moment. Going to be talking about the show in 3, 2, go.
Oh,
So what
boy.
did you guys think?
Oh, okay,
And we're off.
before we talk about this, guys, I just want to share how excited I am about it's actually happening. The new Picard show is actually happening, and this short trek leads right up into it. It's so frigging exciting. I can't explain how wonderful this is to hear. I've actually got a couple of clips. I've been talking a little bit about the Vegas convention, and I dug up some footage on YouTube. The moment that we all heard the very first time, we even heard that there was a new show, because we had no idea. Discovery was new, and there was this big, giant surprise they had for us. They were talking about this new event. You got to come to this one event to see, because something special is going to happen, and we're not going to tell you what it is, but it is, you don't want to miss it, right?
And just to clarify, this is at the Star Trek Las Vegas convention.
And I'm talking
what was
about
it, 2018?
2018. So not last year, the year before that, before I knew any of you people. This is like taking a time travel back to, 2 years ago. It's not that big of a deal. But so I just want to play some audio I have from that convention. Are you guys ready for this?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
So
Make it so.
Alex Kurtzman comes out and is talking about things that are coming up and this new surprise that they're going to reveal. So that's where this first clip starts. So I'm going to play the clip. Okay, hang on.
What I'd like to do is bring out a good friend to talk about the next one. Return. Thank you.
So that, of course, was the moment Patrick Stewart steps out on stage, and nobody was expecting him to walk out on stage. The entire room, which was packed with people, I don't know how many thousands of people actually fit in that room, but every one of them were screaming, jumping up and down and clapping and going nuts because Patrick Stewart just came out and everyone was showing their love for him. So that was what was going on. And the second clip I have, it's a little bit more detailed. Patrick Stewart was talking about the things that, you know, the fan responses he gets and the stories. Of course, every one of these actors has a story about fans going crazy or fans sharing stories about how Star Trek has affected them. So he shared with us this one story, and then we get another eruption of the room because he says something about a new show that we had never heard of before.
My personal favorite, which makes me very emotional, came from a detective sergeant with the Las Vegas Police Department. He wrote to me about his life and his work, and towards the end he said, you know, there are days, I love my job, but there are days when I go home, that what I have seen, what I have experienced, the cruelty, the barbarity, the viciousness, the nastiness of what I've experienced makes me despair for the future of our society and the world. But when I feel like that, I go to my video shelf and I take down Star Trek The Next Generation, and I know we're going to have a future. And that lies at the very center of what I have to tell you now. Jean-Luc Picard is back.
So you can hear the amount of affection and love Star Trek fans have for Mr. Patrick Stewart. I want to thank, by the way, Majestic Entertainment News on YouTube. I stole a little bit of that from them because my phone didn't record everything. And somebody named Heather Ferris shared a little bit of audio with me too, although she doesn't know about it. But you may have heard her screaming at the end of that.
I just want to apologize for me screaming. I was just really excited, and I was live streaming.
It represents what everyone was feeling at that time.
I didn't realize how close the mic was to my mouth when I started screaming, and I feel so embarrassed by that.
There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Your appreciation for Star Trek and Patrick Stewart is welcomed by many of us.
I got so many comments. They're like, will you just shut up? I'm like, I'm sorry.
It wasn't that bad. It was a little extra screaming, but, you know, nothing wrong with a girl screaming once in a while.
Oh my God.
Well, see, there you go. This is how excited we all are to hear about this new show, Star Trek Picard. And we've waited at least 2 years, and it's just about to kick in. We've got just a few days till we get to be able to see it. Some of us, fewer than others, but I'm not jealous that much. But yeah, guys, we're so excited for this show. Go ahead and take it back away, Nathan.
Thank you. No, it is very exciting for it coming up, and it's a great tie-in that we saw with the Children of Mars. If you've should have had plenty of time to see it by now. So thank you for rejoining us on the podcast. And if you didn't leave, thank you for staying. You had a chance to hear the clip that Rocky just played. So definitely awesome.
If you didn't leave by all that screaming.
I could have put a little bit of a scream warning in there, but I love just the way it just plays out. All these crazy applause going around. Just amazing.
I think my face is like so red right now.
Oh, you're welcome.
I think that clip just captured the moment, Rocky. I mean, that was a great clip to play.
It was a great moment.
Yeah.
A little flashing news. I just got an email here, subspace communique, from the good people at CBS All Access, giving me the confirmation and information about the red carpet, what to do, what not to do, and transportation and parking and all kinds of fun stuff. So it's going to be pretty cool. Now, to go further on the Children of Mars, one of the parts that actually had me squeal a little is, did you guys notice Picard on the big screen?
Yeah.
Where he was giving a statement?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Admiral Picard.
And I was hitting my freeze frame button right there, and I was looking at the little text line at the bottom of it. And that's like the big spoiler. The big thing that's happening, the big prelude to it all is happening in that. So if you haven't seen it, you should have seen it by now. But the story, these children, is these two girls, they're in school, and they're actually having a little bit of a beef with each other. They're picking on each other. You could look at it and go, there's some bullying going on here. What is going on with this? But what we don't know is the parents of both of these kids are on the Mars. Utopia Planitia. Oh. Is that what it is?
Yep. That's where all the starships are
where all the
built.
Starships are, the starship yard on Mars.
Yep.
And that's like interesting thing they have in common. But we go out and we follow through the story, and these girls get each other in trouble, and they actually have a huge giant chick fight. If I want to be politically incorrect about describing it, these girls go out and start beating the hell out of each other. It escalates into a really bad match. So they're both sitting there in, I guess it's the waiting room for the principal's office or whatever the equivalent is in the future. And then suddenly this news happens. It's basically our modern day equivalent to 9/11. This huge attack happens on Mars, and you're seeing the footage, and stuff is getting blown to hell. And Picard comes up on the screen, and he just says it's devastating. You can only, your heart, just these two girls suddenly have something in common that is so important. You can tell right away they instantly become the best friends of the planet because they've got this thing in common. Both of their families have been ripped away in this horrible incident.
I think, again, as we were talking about earlier about things being political per se, is that you had two people obviously different. You have a young girl who obviously was like either born on Earth, and you have a young alien girl, so to speak, and they're both, for whatever reason, have this animosity between each other. And you see that clearly through the beginning of the short. But like you said, when something catastrophic happens, all that is put aside. And they realize just how not different that they are. They both had a devastating loss, and they seek comfort in just by holding hands with each other, and
it's a big emotional moment.
It is.
Yeah,
and you would
exactly.
think that hopefully us as a species, that we would actually get to that point, that we could actually forget, other than having something catastrophic happen, that we could all join together and put our differences aside and realize that we're not just a different race. We're our one race. We just happen to be different shades. And I saw a perfect picture of this once. They had retrievers, and all the retrievers were different colors. You had a tan one, a brown one, a black one, a white one. You have and they all said they're the same breed of dog, just happen to be in different shades. And that's what we are. We're all just different shades of the same species.
I wish people would just freaking get that through their heads.
Yep.
It would make things a lot better. That's for sure. If we just, we got this one common thing here. We're all people on Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all human.
We're all human beings. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for hobbits.
Yeah.
Except for hobbits.
Hobbits are cool, man.
I think sometimes, a lot of times actually, we seem to overemphasize the differences rather than remembering that we all are human beings, and we forget about the commonalities we have.
Yep.
Yeah, we all have one Earth we live on, We're amazing as far as the species goes, and we could be 100 times more amazing if we work together.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely can. Do you have any insights from what you saw in the episode there, Fred?
Well, one thing that I did notice, they showed a brief clip of the Mars attack, and one thing that caught my eye is those ships were the same as a tiny clip they had in one of the Picard trailers.
Yeah, he had a flashback within that Picard trailer, and it was right there, that scene. Yeah.
Yeah. So it adds a little bit more context to that, because when I saw that first flashback in the Picard trailer, it was kind of hard to put it in context. So this provides a little bit more detail for that. And I suspect as the series starts, we'll probably see more flashbacks or discussion that'll probably provide even more detail and kind of flesh it out a little bit. And it's interesting too that at this point, Picard is still an admiral, so it opens up some questions. I mean, did Picard feel like a special guilt about this? I mean, was there something he missed where he could have done something that might have prevented it, or there must be some special guilt that Picard feels that leads him to ultimately leave Starfleet.
One of the minor spoilers again that I read on interviews, because I've been consuming everything about the show as much as possible. They're stating that during the interview that Patrick Stewart gave, is that Starfleet apparently was beginning to move away from the values that made it Starfleet, and he left in protest.
That would make sense.
It would, yeah.
And it wouldn't be the first time that Picard has had issues with decisions from Starfleet.
Well, insurrection is a good one.
True. Well, even if you go back to the early seasons of The Next Generation, I remember that episode where Starfleet wanted to basically turn Data into a lab rat. They wanted to disassemble him to figure out what makes him tick so they could create other androids. And he had to defend, Data's basically life as a unique life form.
Yeah, is Data a machine or is he a life form? Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a real significant episode.
Yeah, I think you see part of that come back when we see the prison/factory in the trailer.
Yeah.
In the Picard trailer.
Yeah, there are things going on that it's what it's leading to is it looks like artificial intelligence and artificial life is a thing that is to be dealt with.
Now, I know you were our trailer person there, Heather. What's some of the things you picked up on the latest trailer that you saw?
I am looking forward to seeing Riker and Troi's kids. I heard them, but I want to see them. And I really do think there's more than one. There should be more than one.
Well, she's a betazoid.
Yeah. They get down.
It'd be interesting if the kids are, telepathic and all or not.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point.
Right?
What do you do with a half human, half or a quarter, because she was half already, right? So, interesting.
Yeah.
Now, my question is, do you think that the two girls from Children of Mars, do you think we're going to see them in Picard?
Wow.
That's a possibility.
Good question.
I think with that kind of friendship, that's totally a possibility. It's interesting. If you look through there's a sci-fi article, sci-fi.com with the FY, the TV channel that decided to change it to Phi as opposed to Phi, or Phi is Phi, whatever. I pick on sci-fi a little bit because I love them so much. But they actually went through in their article and they were notching down the years. The events have happened based out of the trailer, based out of the Children of Mars, based out of things that we saw in the Picard Museum that was traveling around the conventions. They really went into it and picked out years and figured out how many years before something happened and when something else happened. So they've really gotten into it. What was the original question?
whether
about the two girls. Do we see them in the future? And I bet we do. Because they're going to be, I don't know if it's going to be the same actresses. I doubt that. But I think we're going to see these characters because you form such a huge bond in that that whole opening scene of basically Children of Mars is the opening scene to Star Trek Picard.
Yeah, I suspect we will see them, but I don't think it'll be the same actresses because...
No, I think they're going to be older.
Because you're jumping into the future a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the things I've noticed about short treks is that almost every single one has a tie-in to the series, either Discovery or someplace else. Even ones that I thought had no tie-in, like the one where the ship, the Discovery, is way in the future and it's empty, and you have that guy that's on the ship, and the ship is taking care of him and became sentient. And so I thought that was really like a one-off until I saw the trailers for the next season where that same guy is there with the rest of the crew. So cool. I'm guaranteed it's going to probably, I feel, they're going to probably show up somehow and they're going to be there. One of the things I'm looking forward to is seeing 7 of 9 do a John Wick imitation. She's running down the hall with both blasters going off as well as you.
Double phasers.
Yeah. Serious.
Phaser rifles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry Ryan is a badass, and we've always known she's a badass, but that shot is like, that was badass.
I'm so glad she's coming back. I'm so excited to see her again.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear more about her story because, like in Voyager, she had some trepidations about going back to Earth, in terms of how she'd fit in, what she would do.
I wonder, does she become part of humanity or does she kind of hang off to the side and do her own thing? I wonder about that.
Well, you see her attitude and the way she talked and how she talked was way different than she did when she was 7. So you can see she's really allowed her Anna side to take over more. Yeah,
she's got a little bit of more attitude.
In one of those interviews, the actress said that she was actually struggling with the role because, where she was then and where she is now are 2 separate places, and she's not sure she could do the same 7 and 9 as she used to. And then someone was talking to her, and they're like, it's 20 years later. 7 and 9 is different too, So I think that really helped her when creating this character.
That's a good pickup because you do see it's evident in how she talks. Like, what are you doing here, Picard? That's not something 7 would normally say. I think it's going to be cool. I think it's really awesome. And I wonder if her and you get together.
Me and her? I'd be happy with that.
What now?
Oh, you're not talking about that. Okay.
Hugh, the Borg dude.
Hugh. I thought he said you and her. I'm like, I'm good with that too.
Woohoo!
That'd be fun.
That would be a special edition podcast for those of you that stay with us.
We will charge money for that podcast. We can make a bank.
Hey, a little time travel action, and Picard and company crashes Vegas Aces.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, cool.
Any other parts of the trailer you picked up on there, Heather? Of any of the other trailers?
I thought it was interesting that the factory was a lot of androids, and I was wondering if they're trying to make an army of datas. Datas? Did I say it, Data?
You did.
Oh, shit.
That's hilarious.
Data. I've been doing so good with that.
I know. Wow.
Okay, I'm going to get so much flack in the comments for that.
Trivia for you. His name was supposed to be Data, but they decided that whoever said it first, that's what they're going to pick it on. And Patrick Stewart, when he read the sheet, he said Data.
And thank goodness he did.
Rather than data, because it was supposed to be data, but they didn't know how to pronounce it. When Patrick Stewart read it, he said data. Go, okay, that's the way it's going to go. His name is now Data. So,
I don't know if data maybe was more of a British pronunciation of the word.
It probably was.
Yeah.
Because he is thespian.
It's a really, really good thing I was never on the show The Next Generation, because with the way that I butcher words, having them trying to say what I said when I'm trying to say a word and I totally butcher it. Oh my God. Imagine the names.
Well, the universal translator would either correct you or short out.
It would short out. It would totally short out.
That would be funny. Here's our new alien aboard the ship. Heather, please give the greeting. Translator, may you mumble down to the banana patch, please.
Right.
I love it.
That'd be funny.
And how about you there, Fred? You've seen anything on the trailers that you've pointed out other than, or observations about Children of Mars?
Well, I'm kind of curious what role Riker and Troi will end up playing. I mean, in the trailers, we see Picard talking to them, and it looks like he's telling them about what he's got planned, and it's not clear whether he's just looking for their, just moral support or if he's looking for their advice. But I kind of wonder if maybe they'll actually show up, later in the season, actually in space.
Like in action.
In action, yeah, exactly. Because that would be cool to see, too.
Without a doubt.
One of the things that gives me a little bit of caution and concern, in the latest trailer, you see Seven as well as some other people holding somebody who's obviously been either mortally wounded or dead with a look of anguish on their face, and you don't see who it is. So that's making me wonder, like, who's going to be gone, because this is going to be a high stakes series. So not everyone from TNG may not make it out alive this time.
Oh, I'm worried about that. I don't want them to do that to us.
Yeah.
No. So it'd be curious on what they're going to do and who it is, So that's one of the things that I picked up on watching the trailers.
Well, one of the things I was looking at in the trailers, some of the sword fight action we're getting. I don't know if it's a Vulcan or Romulan. I'm assuming it's going to be a Romulan with the long hair. And he looks badass with the sword just swinging around, and you're going to have sword fights.
Yeah.
Don't bring a phaser to a sword fight, right?
He looks like an elf, kind of like out of Lord of the Rings.
Why do people keep saying that? It's just got Vulcan ears, right? I mean, it's obviously a Vulcan or a Romulan, but other than that, how do you get elf?
Just the ears. It's not just the ears, it's the longer hair, too.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of like...
No.
That was because
you typically, most Vulcans have short hair, and you don't usually see Romulans with long hair too. You got a point there. That's what it is. Yeah.
Another reason is because the ears are on a backward slant. Vulcan ears tend to be more straight up and down.
Oh, really?
And the backward slant of the ear makes people think elvish.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But so Jean-Luc Picard, of course, always loved to do fencing. So I wonder if any of that sword fighting action will come into play with him.
Well, in the Variety magazine, I think there was a video where he was talking and he said, Picard could do everything. Myself, however, there are days where I have trouble bending down. So,
gosh, I didn't look for video clips when I read that article. I missed out on stuff.
There was a video clip. It was pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
It was like a nice one. Yeah, go check it out.
Yeah, because he is. We're talking about how old he is. He's definitely older now. Yeah, in some of that action stuff. Well, Patrick Stewart, not necessarily an action hero so much as a thinking man. A diplomat, a problem solver. So his skill set was not always, wham, bam, slice them and dice them. He was in charge and taking care of things.
That's what the new younger crew is for.
Yeah, so we got the newbies. Yeah. Let them sword fight and fire phasers.
Hey, here's an interesting thing. Did you catch that scene in the trailer? It looks like like some sort of a prison, and in the upper corner, there's a sign that says that they've gone so many days without in a simulation.
Yes, I caught that one last week. If you guys listened to our pre-show, during our soft launch, I talked about that sign. 5,843 days without an assimilation. That's awesome. A hell of a record. How many years is that? I'm going to bring out my calculator. I should have done this earlier. 580.
Well, no, that's only on Earth.
43.
If they're on a different planet, years are going to be calculated differently.
True. That is absolutely correct. How long the day is is not necessarily referenced to Earth time.
Right.
16 years, though, and change, if you were calculating in Earth time.
In Earth years.
Yeah, Earth years.
Now, one of the things I'd like to see, this is just a random thought thrown out there, and I know it's not going to happen, but still, it's one of the things I have on my Star Trek wish list. And if I ever did see them again, I probably will scream like Heather, is the Children of Darmok. Because you see them, conversation was open. For those of you don't remember, I'll just give one phrase and you'll remember the episode. Shaka, when the walls fell. So you see them, they obviously were more powerful than the Enterprise, but it was a one-off. You never see them again.
That's true.
Yeah, that is true.
We haven't seen them again.
I'll never see them again. And I thought that was such a well-done episode that I would love to see them in the future.
That would be great.
Yeah, it would be.
And that was one of the best episodes.
So, again, that's going totally off subject, so forgive me.
Well, it's interesting going through, because I'm still on my rewatch of Next Generation. I have like a week and a half or so to go to get it done with. I don't know if I'll make it, but I'm in season 4 right now. And just watch these things that have happened over time, and they relate to what's going on now. I've just watched the episode where Jean-Luc Picard goes back home, and I think it's called Family, actually. The episode's called Family. Worf's parents come to visit the ship while the ship ship's getting worked on, and Picard goes back home to visit his brother and their family on the vineyards.
Oh, wow.
And
that actually is a great tie-in for it.
And yeah, it happens to be that it's after when he had the massive event with the Borg, when he became Locutus, and it's a big emotional moment for him, and he's suppressing a lot of the emotion involved in that event because it was pretty dramatic. So he has this one, knockdown, drag out fight with his brother, and it breaks down into laughter and then into tears as Picard lets loose all the emotional anguish, or at least a lot of the anguish that he went through that horrible event, because he couldn't do anything about it. He had no choice because he was assimilated. He could not control anything. And Picard was always in control of stuff. Sometimes things get a little out of control, but he was basically always able to rein things in. That's what makes him the captain,
I wonder if they're going to show him suffering from PTSD
I think
or
they will.
anything similar.
Yeah.
One of the lines in the show was how he wouldn't come back there. He wouldn't have a reason to come back there unless he had some sort of situation like that again. And of course, what do we see the first time when the Picard trailer lit up? It's a vineyard. He came back to the vineyard because something happened.
I think the emotional trauma he had was a lot worse than the physical trauma he went through.
Oh, yes.
And what's really hard too is that emotional trauma in a way can linger a lot longer. After you feel better, and physically, emotional stuff can take a while to deal with.
One of the heavy mantles of command was always when you have to complete or do a mission. And we know with the Starship, they've lost a lot of people, from Natasha Yar, and as well as a numerous amount of
not the red shirts
of security people and others. But when you sit in your room alone at night, those faces float past you because your decision basically sent them to their deaths, even though they know it's their job to go ahead and do it. The original series touched on it some, and even more so in A Pale Moonlight with Deep Space Nine. You have all these lives gone, and so that's something heavy to go through. And I could see him retiring to the vineyard to try to exorcise those ghosts.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like push-ups and stuff, but try to rationalize through it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's not
Those are
an
going to
easy
be
thing.
some really six-pack, ghosts and everything. They're going to have some huge muscles.
I keep picturing Cardassians in the gym working on traps. Every day is trap day for Cardassians.
Oh, boy.
Hey, there's an interesting trivia fact about the family episode. Did you guys realize that that's the only Next Generation episode where they do not have a scene on the bridge?
Oh, you're right. What was going on the bridge? Was it the night crew was running the bridge that whole episode?
Well, they were basically being repaired. So
They were in repair dock, dry dock, getting work done, getting the phasers realigned and all that good stuff. But we didn't really see the bridge, did we?
No, that's the only episode.
We saw the conference room, but we didn't really see the bridge.
Right.
Wow. I wonder if they were doing like remodeling or reconstruction or something. That's pretty cool. That's a good pickup there, Fred.
Yeah, thanks.
And it's interesting, when they take the show on location, because they do so much work in a studio set on this show. So when they go on location, it's like a major endeavor to go on location for the crew. I mean, because everyone's got to pack all their gear up. They got to travel to some place and set up everything. It's like building a whole studio in the field. It's actually a lot more work to go on location. Sometimes you might think it's easier to go on location to shoot something, and sometimes it is. But with Star Trek, I wonder if is it actually easier for the crew to go out on location to shoot something versus having all that control they have in the studio to build their sets. And I mean, their modern day holodeck is a studio. We can do whatever we want in there, but it takes time to set it all up and do it. And sometimes you just need to go to shoot a vineyard, and the vineyard just is there. Makes me wonder a little bit about that.
It probably depends on how far they have to travel. I suspect that the vineyard was probably a local vineyard, somewhere maybe in Northern California. So they didn't, granted, they still had to move a lot of equipment out there, but it wasn't like they were, traveling to France, let's say.
Yeah. I bet it was not a France vineyard.
And Patrick Stewart himself loves wine, so there's that. So that must have been an added bonus.
Did you guys see at the Star Trek convention in 2019 that one of the vendors there was selling Patrick Stewart vineyard wine?
Oh, yes. Yes.
The Picard
And there was
wine.
only so many. Yeah. They sold out on the first day.
That was something else. That was fun watching that. The whole whirlwind of going to my third Star Trek convention and meeting a redhead named Heather. Was
Hi.
a big whirlwind of that. But that was one of the very first things that happened that day is like, oh, look, these people are selling the Picard wine. That's cool. It's right in the show. It's going to be it's in the trailer. It's going to be the new thing. It's actually a wine. They have it. You can buy some.
Yes.
And one of the people we were with bought some, and it was like the last 10 or so that were available, and it happened right in front of me. I was just like, whoa.
And it was shipped to me, and then I shipped it to him.
And he's gotten it?
Yep, he got it. Everything's cool. He's happy.
That's awesome. That's one heck of a collector's item.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Did you taste it?
No. Heaven forbid, I didn't even open the box. I just thought it was cool to, like, I sort of had it for 2 seconds.
I would have opened the box and taken a selfie with it.
Oh my God, I should have thought of that.
That's okay.
I think that was a limited run, wasn't it? Or were they going to make some more?
No, I think there was only a certain amount, and then that was it after that.
Yeah.
But that's why they were selling it for so much money.
Although, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a second batch for sale.
Oh, I know. There's going to be convention. More. I'm sure there's going to be more Picard wine out there. There's no doubt. Because it's actually a Picard wine. It's an actual wine. Somebody's named Picard, and they do it.
Right. So every year, they're only going to have so many bottles. So 2019 only had so many bottles. 2020 only had so many bottles.
Yeah.
Keep the demand high.
Yep.
Probably better than the Romulan Ale.
Romulan Ale gives Klingons headaches, so
I'm waiting for the tequila. Let me know when the tequila gets out. I'll be ready.
What?
You know, Tribbles like that.
What, the wine or the...
The Romulan Ale.
What happens when you get a Tribble drunk?
That would be interesting to see. I wonder how it would sound.
They don't multiply, they vibrate.
Oh no, I am not touching that. I am not touching that at all. No.
Sorry, my mind is dirty.
Tribbles are pretty dirty creatures when you think about them, because that's all they do. They're horny and they purr and they multiply.
Right?
Can I get a bottle of Captain Morgan? Is it for yourself? No,
it's for the
Tribbles. Papa's staying home tonight.
Whoa, Tribble.
That's what we need. We need some Tribbles to show up in Picard. Huh?
Well, if anybody could find out, you're the keeper of the Tribbles, Fred. We want to report next week.
Oh my God, they have to have Tribbles. Now that I've heard that, they have to have Tribbles.
Oh boy.
That would be something during your year Tribble. Oh, baby, don't talk dirty.
Well, there were a bunch of Tribbles on Deep Space Nine, right? They had to move them somewhere.
Yeah, this is true.
Oh boy. Down, Tribble.
Next year when they do the short tracks, they need to do another maybe like a cartoon animated episode with Tribbles in them.
That would be interesting. Let's see what happens on that. Would be something to look out for in the future. All right, so everybody, remember that Picard's start date is going to be on January 23rd, 2020 on CBS All Access or whatever else you're able to watch the show if you're outside of these United States. Next week's episode, again, is going to be full of spoilers, juicy tidbits, and red carpet info. So make sure you come aboard then and give a listen to us. Now, we can be found on the links on all social media platforms. You can find us on Facebook, the Twitters, as well as Instagram. The links are going to be contained within the description of the podcast. So make sure you give us a follow, give us a like, and of course, share us. And then make sure you have a great rest of the week. Just don't do it. Make it so. This was Starfleet Underground.
Starfleet Underground, beaming into a podcast feed near you. Log on to our website at starfleetunderground.com and send your comments and questions to thecollective@starfleetunderground.com. Follow us on Twitter at StarfleetUnderG and on Facebook and Instagram, we're Starfleet Underground.